Hey, everybody, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today on something I think a lot of you will be interested in,
Oh, yeah.
and that's Medicare Advantage plans.
Absolutely.
And specifically, we're talking about how these plans can change.
Right.
So whether you are, getting ready for the next enrollment period or you just kind of want to keep up with this stuff,
Yep.
we've got some interesting insights here that we pulled from Diversified Insurance Brokers.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's amazing how much these plans can change every single year.
Right.
Most people, I don't think, realize that.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Yeah, you can't just sort of set it and forget it.
Right, and I think that's what most people think they do, right? They get their plan and they're like, okay, done.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, something's different.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So Diversified really stresses that things can change a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what kind of changes are we talking about here?
Well, premiums are a big one. Premiums can go up or down.
Right.
That right there just impacts your budget. And then there's the plans formulary, which is the list of drugs that they'll cover that can be tweaked. Drugs can be added or removed. Your copays might change.
Wow.
If you're taking certain medications, that can really,
Yeah, it could be a problem.
yeah, it can be a big problem.
And what about the network of doctors? I imagine that can change too.
Absolutely, doctors can join or leave the network.
Okay.
It's vital to make sure that your doctor is still in your plan.
Right, especially if you've got ongoing health concerns or something like that.
Yeah, any kind of chronic condition,
Yeah.
you got to make sure that you can still see the same doctor.
So it's not just about the cost, but it's also the specifics of what's covered.
Totally.
And like you were saying, who your doctors are.
And we can't forget about out-of-pocket costs as well.
Right.
Deductibles, copays, coinsurance, all that can be adjusted year to year.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It really is. And that's why you have to pay close attention to these changes, especially if you anticipate needing a lot of medical care
Right.
in the coming year.
Okay, so it's clear that we can't just get a plan and be complacent about it.
Right.
How do we stay informed about all these changes?
Yeah.
Diversified mentioned some key enrollment periods.
It did.
Yeah.
They did the annual enrollment period,
Okay.
or AEP, runs from October 15th to December 7th.
Okay.
That's your main opportunity to switch plans, drop your plan,
Right.
or enroll in Medicare Advantage for the first time.
Right.
It's kind of like open enrollment you might know from work.
Right.
But this one's specifically for Medicare Advantage.
Okay, so what happens if you miss that?
Yeah.
Or you have some big life change?
Yeah.
Like you move or something?
Absolutely. That's where the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period comes in.
Okay.
That runs from January 1st to March 31st.
Okay.
It's like a safety net. You can make one change during this period, switch to a different plan, or even revert back to original Medicare and grab a Part D drug plan.
Okay.
Now, there are also special enrollment periods
Okay.
that can be triggered by specific situations,
Why?
like moving out of your plan service area, losing employer coverage,
Right.
or qualifying for Medicaid.
So it's not just those two set periods.
Right.
There's more flexibility than maybe we realize.
Yeah, Medicare tries to anticipate, people's lives changing
Yeah.
and give them options
There
to
isn't.
adjust their coverage.
So we've got these enrollment periods.
Right.
But how do we know what's changing in our specific plan? Diversified mentioned we should be on the lookout for a certain document.
Yeah, they highlighted the annual notice of change,
Okay.
the ANOC.
ANOC.
You'll get this in the mail every fall,
Okay.
and it outlines all the upcoming changes in your plan.
For the next year.
For the coming year, exactly, think of it as your cheat sheet.
So the enrollment periods tell us when we can make changes. The ANOC tells us what is actually changing.
It's your comprehensive guide
Okay.
to understanding what's coming up.
So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah.
When we get this ANOC, what should we be looking for?
So first, check for any changes in your monthly premium.
Okay.
Then look at the formulary.
Uh-huh.
Has any of your medication moved to a different tier?
Okay.
That could mean higher copays.
Right.
Look for any changes in the provider network.
Okay.
Make sure your doctors are still in there.
So we need to really sit down and compare this
Absolutely.
to our current plan.
You can't just glance at it.
Yeah.
Don't assume everything's the same.
Right.
I know this is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
It can be overwhelming,
It can be.
but taking the time to review the ANOC can save you a lot of headaches
Yeah,
and money in the long run.
absolutely. And, you've always got those special enrollment periods if you need them.
That's right.
It's all about being proactive.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yep.
what's the biggest takeaway you want people to get from this?
These plans change.
Okay.
Medicare Advantage plans evolve constantly.
Yeah.
Don't be passive.
Right.
You have to take advantage of those enrollment periods.
Okay.
Look at that ANOC.
Right.
Make sure your plan is doing what you need it to do.
Such good advice as we look toward the next year. Just kind of think about, are your healthcare needs changing?
Yep.
If you could build your ideal plan, what would that look like?
Yeah.
Keep that in mind as you go through all this information
Sure.
and make your choices.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.